Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming to CWG. I'm going to begin by reading off the names of the people that I see. And if I miss anyone, please let me know. I'm Kirsten Yucatel from SANDAG. Also from SANDAG, we have Lauren Lee, Keith Greer, Michelle Smith, and Sam Sanford, and Richard Radcliffe. We also have Brent Burge from Caltrans, Erica Vaca. Also, if I mispronounce your name, please tell me so I can pronounce it correctly next time. Erica Vaca, also from Caltrans, Kevin Rios, Caltrans, Michael Morris, Michelle Jerome, Port of San Diego, Rodney Tavitas from Caltrans, Rusty Wisman, I think someone else just joined, Sarah Thornburg from the county, Vike Ranga from Caltrans, and have I missed anyone? I don't think so. Okay, hearing none. Lauren, do you want to go to the next slide, please? We are not a Brown Act body, but we do welcome the public to our meetings. I'm just going to pause. I don't believe anyone is here from the public, but in case anyone is and would like to make a comment. Okay, hearing none. We'll move on to member comments and announcements. Richard, I believe you have an announcement, and then if anyone else does, we'll do those.
Yep. Hey, Kirsten, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. Sorry, I don't know why the video is not popping up yet.
Richard, I think you're self-muted.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so we have a formal tip amendment that was just posted for public comment a couple of days ago. This amendment is primarily for accommodating the FY26 SANDAG program budget, as well as a number of our local agencies that are our member agencies, a lot of their projects where they are updating their funding based on local sales tax revenue estimates that were received a few months ago. There are a handful of new exempt projects in this amendment, but again, they're exempt, so we don't really foresee any issues with those. But this amendment is scheduled to go to the SANDAG board for approval on July 25th. So I will be sharing, following this meeting, sharing the exempt project lists, the group project listings, as well as the information for the new projects that were added in the amendment with Kirsten for distribution to the CWG members. So keep an eye out for those.
Thank you, Richard. Any other member announcements or comments? Okay, two more people have joined us. Roger Sanchez, and I also see a phone number beginning in 415. Oh, I'm sorry, Rodney, 1 second. So if the person who's on the phone number, could you unmute and identify who you are? Okay, well, Rodney, we'll go to Rodney, please go ahead. Do you have a comment or an announcement?
Yeah, real quick, I just wanted to ask for a correction.
Mhm.
Under my item, it was mentioned conformity freeze. We are not there yet. Basically, a conformity freeze is basically when EPA disapproves a SIP without a protective finding. What we're in right now is called a conformity lockdown. So I ask that that be corrected because it can cause a lot of confusion.
Absolutely. I'm happy to correct that.
Thank you.
And we'll make sure that that's reposted and reflected in the minutes of the meeting. Okay, any other member announcements, comments? Okay, Lauren, do you want to go to the next slide? The meeting minutes from our May meeting were attached to the agenda. So if everyone has an opportunity to just look, and if there's any error or someone missing who attended, please let me know. And then next slide, please, Lauren. Perfect. Okay, well, Rodney, thankfully I didn't put an erroneous term on this actual slide. And I wanted to say that I had asked Rodney if he would just give our group an update on the issues that have been presented by the federal action on June 12th to rescind California waivers and what that means just for conformity issues broadly. So Rodney, please go ahead.
Hi, thank you for that, Kirsten. Kirsten, sorry. Really quick, as you all aware, as Christian mentioned, since the California waivers was rescinded by the new administration, it's one of those things that we call unintended consequences. Some of them are, as you're aware, the Advanced Clean Care Car, or what they call ACC2, was one of the waivers. Another one was the Advanced Clean Trucks, ACT rule. And then the last one was the Omnibus, the low NOx regulations. All three of those were rescinded. Why do we care? Basically, within the INFAC model itself, it will have different emission rates, and on top of that, a different future vehicle fleet. So for conformity purposes, especially regional, when we actually, do the analysis, there's inconsistencies. So until that is fixed, we are what we call what is a conformity lockdown. Conformity lockdown is basically, as long as your project comes from a conforming plan or tip, it can continue to advance. Where we're impacted at is, say for like the SANDAG region, right? Say they have to add a new regionally significant project or remove one that requires the use of INFACT, we will not be able to go forward until the inconsistencies with INFACT are fixed. How is it fixed? Well, in this one, we're not sure yet, as CARB is still doing the analysis on the model. But what I can share is when something similar happened before during the SAFE rule, when they actually revoked our waivers, CARB was asked to develop some adjustment factors. Once those adjustment factors were developed and agreed upon with the US EPA and federal highways, we were able to resume regional conformity determinations. So that's kind of like a high-level overview. I'm happy to take any questions. I don't want to bore you all with all the big details, but at a high level, just remember this: any action that requires INFACT is paused for right now. Keith.
Hi, Rodney. Thank you for that, and thank you for helping us correct the terms. One of the things we're looking forward right now is our regional plan. So we call it regional plan, but it's the Regional Transportation Plan and Sustainable Community Strategy, which will be adopted by our board in December. After December, we will have gone over 4 years, so we need to have updated every 4 years. Last time during the SAFE rule, how long did it take for CARB and EPA to agree upon adjustment factors?
Well, I can tell you all this. Once the SAFE rule went into effect, which I believe was in November 26, 2019. My memory could be off. I'm getting old. But anyways, once it became effective, no regional conformity determinations were made until 2021. So it was basically a year for them to get everything figured out, fixed. But I think this time we probably have a leg up, meaning that we know what the fix could be. Whereas before, this has never happened before. There's been times where, like during the Bush administration, when they didn't approve the waiver, it just took a little bit longer for I think it was INFACT 2011 to be approved later. It was fixed, but this was the first time it happened. So we kind of have an idea on what the time frame will be. Hopefully this time, maybe because now we know what the potential fix could be, that hopefully this can be figured out. I mean, not take a year. As it did before. It took a whole year because when that happened, they didn't issue another regional conformity determination until February 2021. So a whole year, but there is a plus. It doesn't really affect you all too much. But for the PM areas, there was project level conformity determinations being issued. Why that is important, because if you do have a particular project that requires federal highways approval, they did approve them in 2020. I think we had like 20 projects that they actually issued a project level conformity determination. Only time that would really affect you all is if you have like a widening project that requires FHWA approval, very rare for ozone areas. But so I hope that helps, Keith.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, projecting out ahead, you know, we're going to go into a period of time where SANDAG is ready to submit for our to FHWA and Caltrans and FHWA and FTA our new plan so that we can stay in having a regional plan that's been adopted every 4 years. But we might not be able to do that until this whole issue is resolved. So I'm not sure if it's like frozen so that our prior regional plan is actually allowed to consist and be there until we submit for a new one once the determination is made on the adjustment factors, or if we're in jeopardy of possibly losing federal and state funds because we don't have an updated RTP. And I don't know if that's been discussed at all at the state level.
Yes, I mean, for everyone real quick, I'll tell you why this is a major issue. If SANDAG is not able to get their regional conformity determination by the end of 2026, they're going to go into which is called a lapse grace period. Why is that important? It's basically the same thing as a lockdown, but here's what's more crucial. During a grace period lapse, no amendments can be approved. Why is that important? Say if you need to add new exempt projects, you need to do a name change or whichever, those cannot move forward. That's why we bring this up. And just to answer your question, Keith, there has been discussions. We're trying the best that we can to possibly find a solution, hopefully, because again, you know, I can't really discuss it, but I do know that we have been, you know, possibly trying to find a path forward. We're hoping that we can. And I think too, like as you guys mentioned, there was like a request for projects. I just want you all to know the reason for that request, because it helps us tell the overall story. I can share with you right now, we've identified $147 billion at risk. So with SANDAG added to that, the number will just go up. We've identified 600 projects that may even go up even more. So that's just my humble on asking why that request went out, because it helps us tell the overall story.
Thank you.
Michelle?
Yeah, hi Rodney, it's Michelle Smith from SANDAG. So I have the same request as Keith. So you had mentioned if we don't get it by the end of 2026, but our regional plan expires the end of 2025.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me look at
Okay.
the date. Sorry, I got you. No, it looks like your regional plan, at least for conformity wise, because you got your conformity determination on 1/28/2022. The plan doesn't expire until 1/28/2026. So on 1/29/2026 is when you would potentially be in a conformity lapse grace period.
Is it because we did an amendment?
No, it's just the
No,
submission
for your
window,
plan.
Michelle, from when we send it in and Caltrans and DOT can
See,
review.
Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha.
See what we look at. I know when you probably adopted it during whichever time, which is fine. What we look at for us, the 4-year clock starts when Federal Highways issues that conformity letter.
Got it.
So for us, they issued the conformity letter on 1/28/2022.
Got it. Thank you for the clarification.
Anytime. Sorry that we're having to have these meetings.
Oh, it's fine. I learn
But
something new every day, so I appreciate it.
yeah, so I mean, my branch is always happy to help you all, and just to let SANDAG know, we're currently trying to figure out a solution. I mean, again, this is, one of the consequences that, and also too, we're hoping that these numbers, because really our ultimate goal is, we understand when it happened with the Safe Road, they went through the Federal Register process, which gave us about 18 months. So if they want to do this, if they give us at least 18 months to figure this out, we would be out of this situation of having a statewide lapse. So that's one of the reasons why, again, sorry, Kirsten, but I keep mentioning that project list in the handout. It just helps us tell a bigger story.
No, I understand. We are just getting you the list both of the RTIP and also, which Richard already has, and also, and we can discuss this offline, but also the RTP list so that you have the full picture of what will be impacted. similar to the template you had given us.
Thank you all so much. You have no idea how happy you all just made me.
Michelle, do you have another question?
Yeah, I do. Sorry, I
Okay.
sparked another question. So, we will be starting the development of our 2027 RTIP in January. Is that going to delay that
Yes.
process? Okay.
Yes, that was another thing that we brought up as well, is that there's 14 MPOs that are subject to conformity. And we've brought this up with our federal programming office as well. Like, hey, we know a lot of regions are going to start doing their regional conformity analysis for the 2027 FSTIP. How can that be accomplished if we have a model that's in question right now because the waivers are tied to that model? So I know it is a 4-year document. So at least, for us, that is good news, because if the FSTIP expired, then we're in the trash. I'll just be point blank, nothing moves forward. So it is a 4-year document. However, the 2-year update that we all plan on doing, and that's basically where there's name changes, maybe they're adding new projects, changing, the schedule, whichever, why that is so crucial. We did experience this during the SAFE rule, where actually a state law was written to give us additional time because we weren't able to meet that 2-year state law. So that has already been discussed with federal programming. So I think right now, as we're trying to get more information, and then also too, just something to kind of throw in the air, since they didn't follow the federal law review process, there is the possibility the courts will step in. I know that California, there's 10 laws, they've already filed a lawsuit immediately. So let's just say the court stays it, right? Then we can go back to normal. And then, the courts will work it out. That's what might happen. We just don't know, because something like this is never, like a law being revoked like this has never happened, because they passed a bill. Normally they go through the Federal Register process and comments. So all that process has been bypassed. So maybe that could work in our favor, since there is precedence about that. Keith.
Yeah, one more question, just to get clear on these timelines. Okay, so as I understand it, on 2022, 2026, our regional plan, our RTP, will have be completed. It'll have 4 years and it'll be finalized. After that period of time, I believe we have 1 year of a grace period, if that's still in effect. And after 1 year, then we go into this lapse of grace period where nothing can happen. Did I get that right?
The way it works, okay, so let's just say on 1/29/2026, your RTP expires, right?
Right.
You'll go into what is called a lapse grace period.
Lapse, okay.
Grace period. Remember, it's a lapse grace period, right?
Okay.
That's important to distinguish. That means that you can still advance projects moving forward, as long as a conforming plan or tip. You can still, still move forward. It's kind of like a lockdown, like we're experiencing right now. After that 1 year, then you go into what is called a full-blown lapse.
Okay.
That is something that, when that happens, only exempt projects and TCMs can move forward.
Thank you for that clarification.
Whatever information you all need, we're always happy to provide it. To make sure, because moving forward, we have to be very, very careful on our language, because it can be used facetiously. I'll just put it that way.
Well, and maybe Rodney, in August, well, if we have their August meeting or September, but at our next meeting, you can give us another update on just what's transpired in the meantime, if there's any new developments.
More than happy to do it. As Kirsten, all you have to do is just reach out to me, and we're always happy to help.
That will be great. Any other questions for Rodney on this topic?
This is John. I'm sorry, I was on the call, but you guys couldn't hear me. So I had to reboot my computer and stuff, but I was listening in on my cell phone. I wanted to ask, Rodney, regarding the development of the budgets in the SIP that are currently approved. Those budgets were approved with MFAC 20. Those budgets were developed using MFAC 2017 unadjusted, right? I mean,
Or San Diego SIP? Yeah.
Yes.
So go on.
So I just wanted to, I'm trying to make a case here that like, okay, the budgets were developed using MFAC 2017. And then what was Kirsten, I'm sorry, I forgot the start date of like when did the official analysis for this conformity determination begin for this RTP and TIP? Was it 2023 or something?
They started right before it was to expire. So they started like a few months when they actually started doing the regional conformity analysis before
Yeah.
the expiration date. So to SANDAG, now you see the conversations we're having to try to see if we can find a solution forward and not have you be in a conformity lapse grace period.
Exactly. So, and when that analysis was begun, it was decided that, yeah, MFAC 2017 can still be used. We're in the grace period for using that older model. But we agreed that we would be using the adjustment factors that would basically make it sort of more like MFAC 2021. But these adjustment factors are all less than one, and so they're conservative in the sense that if you don't apply the adjustment factors, then you're just using the model outputs unadjusted, which is higher, right? And so my point I wanted to make is that it seems to me that the use of those adjustment factors, even though it was kind of part of the agreement that we all understood what was going to be happening, it would be, I would argue, an elective sort of thing for the MPO, that if they wish to use the adjustment factors, they can, because we said it was okay. But if they didn't, and they wanted to make it harder for themselves, that there'd be no reason for us to say that that's not okay. And so I think I just wanted to make that point and see if does everybody agree that there was this agreement that we were going to use MFAC 2017 in this interagency consultation kind of forum? We agreed that we were going to be using MFAC 2017 with adjustments, but it wasn't that like the adjustments were a stipulation or something. It was just like, yeah, those adjustments are available.
Well, so to SANDAG, so you see we're trying to find a solution. And I think it's hard because when we look at the letter that was actually sent from US EPA, they talk about the adjustment factors, the approval and use of them. So I think that's where we need OTAC's help to see if this could potentially be a path forward for SANDAG, and we have to make sure Federal Highways would be okay with that as well, because last thing we want is SANDAG to go into a lapse grace period.
Well, and I just want to clarify that the conformity that was circulated and is currently out with the draft plan, it does include the adjustment factor for MFAC 17, the post-processing. Just so that, I mean, whether it's required or optional to use, that is what was circulated to this group and what's currently out for public comment.
Yeah. All right. We'll have to, I think I'll have to circle back with some people here at EPA and I know we're in contact with OTAC already, as well as with, our attorneys. So there will be more development on this. I'm sorry that, we don't have, precise answers on any of this today, but it does help to, at least for me, to kind of understand a little bit more of the lay of the land. So that, maybe by our next call, we can have something sorted out, well, at least a little further kicking, not kicking the can down the road, but developing the issues so that we understand what to do further.
Well,
So any of this, go on, sorry, Kirsten.
No, go ahead.
So on a positive note, let's just say OTAC agrees on everything else. We'll do what we always do, means recommend approval and move forward. It's just right now, because this is such an unprecedented situation that we're in, I don't want to overly make promises that I can't deliver. But I can tell you this, if we do get the okay, we'll turn it over within a day or two. No problem on our end. We just have to make sure that our federal partners will agree with this solution. If they ask our opinion, of course, we're going to agree. Because again, this is unintended consequence that we didn't foresee happening to us so soon. We thought it was going to go through the Federal Register process, which would have given you all plenty of time. So I hope that helps, SANDAG. We're trying.
Well, it sounds like you guys are working together, which is good, and it's evolving. And so we're kind of stuck waiting for that evolving to actually have some direction. So we're going to continue on, and at our next meeting, I hope to have some updates on that from you guys.
Sounds
you.
good, Keith.
I really
And
appreciate, Rodney, you and John both explaining the different perspectives that are being brought to bear on this.
You're welcome. And as I always said, please don't hesitate to reach out to us.
Before we move to our next agenda item, I just want to say that Nick Cormier from APCD and Suzanne Martinez from SANDAG have both joined. Is there anyone else? And John Kelly from EPA, just to let everyone know who's with us here. Lauren, will you go to the next slide, please? Okay, just to introduce this agenda item, this is an issue that came up at our May meeting and has been brought back by request for discussion for our federal partners who were not able to be at the May meeting so that we could have a fuller discussion. There are a handful of issues that came up. The item that prompted this discussion in May was the 2025 RTIP Amendment number 5, and specifically a set of the bundled exempt listings, which included Bataquitos Lagoon double track for that project. And there was discussion of whether there should be bundling. There was discussion of whether the project should be exempt, and some desire to have a fuller discussion of the approach to these questions. So Richard has agreed to sort of give us a brief overview of the same presentation that prompted this discussion in May so that everyone has the same context. And then we can move to a discussion, and I don't know if this will be a continuing discussion beyond today or how to approach this for conformity when we resume going forward. But for right now, I'm going to turn it over to Richard.
Thanks, Kirsten. You can still hear me okay?
Yes, sorry, I was muted there.
Oh,
Yes.
that's okay. Perfect. Thank you. Okay, so I'll try to be brief with this. This is going to be kind of a refresher for those who were at the May CWG meeting. Next slide, please. Okay, so Amendment 5 to the 25 RTIP was posted for public review around mid-April and shared with this, and the project listings were shared with the CWG around that time. Amendment 5 included MPO ID number SAN 183. As Kirsten mentioned, it's our Bataquitos Lagoon double track project. There were some concerns raised about the grouping of the project by the Caltrans Air Quality Branch. The discussion was recommended for the May 7th meeting, and then we ended up postponing it to today's meeting. Next slide, please. Okay, so the Bataquitos Lagoon double track project was first added to the SANDAG RTIP in Amendment 1 to the 2012 RTIP. So it's been in there for quite a while. It's programmed as part of our SAN 114 group project listing for our low SAN corridor projects. And it's currently listed as exempt under the mass transit track rehabilitation in existing right-of-way category. It was reflected in ABM 3, the modeling used for the conformity determination. The project is currently in the construction phase. And I just wanted to also mention here that we have already had internal discussions prior to the concerns about the exempt categorization of the project and the grouping of the project. We've discussed it internally, how to handle it, and we've kind of already decided that initially we're going to move it out of the group listing in the 27 RTIP update. Next slide, please. This is the way the project appears in the RTIP currently as of Amendment 5. Amendment 5 was federally approved on May 23rd of 2025. Next slide, please. And then this slide here just shows a map of the location of the Bataquitos Lagoon double track project. As you can see, the limits extend from just south of Avenida Encinas to north of Ashbury Street. Next slide, please. And then this slide is just highlighting the project within the SAN 114 group listing with our other LOSAN projects. You can see there are several other projects in there. This one is the one that's in construction, and this is the primary one that was generating concern. Next slide, please. So I think just to summarize the goals for the discussion today, one, we would hope that we can ensure that all federal partners can agree on the I guess we don't want to discuss the exemption now because of all the stuff with the waivers going on. But I think we do want to try and figure out whether the project should be or shouldn't be grouped in the current group listing that it's part of. And then any other suggested course of action that may come of this. That does it for the PowerPoint. We can get into the discussion.
Thank you, Richard. Okay, so I just want to reiterate a couple of things that Richard said that did come up in May. Just confirming that for our conformity analysis, this project is reflected, even though it's listed as exempt, like Richard said, and that there is the intent of debundling, which were two of the issues that came up in May. But I do know, and I actually want to give you a chance, Rodney, because I know that you have particular concerns when we discussed this in May, and we do have Rusty Wisman and Michael Morris and John Kelly with us today, so we have more federal representation to discuss any other concerns with this and how the project is characterized or other issues. So I don't want to mischaracterize your concerns from May, Rodney. Do you want to reiterate those for everyone who wasn't here then? Well,
I think just the essence of time and the situation that we're in, you mentioned one really big point that's already been modeled. So it appears what's happening is just really some administrative process, and I don't feel that the administrative process should hold SANDAG up. And I feel if our federal partners agree, we can just move forward as is.
Yes, I agree with that wholeheartedly. This is John.
Rusty or Michael, do you have thoughts on this? I know you were nice enough to send me some thoughts via email after the meeting in May, but any concerns or thoughts on this discussion, which I gather has come up before as well?
Yeah, and I mean, I can appreciate the sentiment from Rodney and John. I guess my concern would be the group listing aspect of it. And it sounds like you guys are unbundling it, so you'll kick it out of the group listing. I guess I'm not quite clear on the path forward there.
Yeah, we were we had it as part of this current amendment that will be shared with the group following the meeting, but we ended up pulling it just because we didn't want it to cause any issues with the recent air quality developments. But we did at the very latest plan to remove it from the group listing in the RTIP update that will be starting or we were supposed to be starting in January or February. So it was
Okay.
it was planned to be pulled from the group listing.
Okay, and I think I agree with that approach. I guess the concern here is that, you know, if you do have a regionally significant project, it doesn't seem like that's the place to include those in the group listing. So I guess that's just my impression. So I don't know if Michael wants to chime in.
Yeah, I'd agree generally. I know that you just said, Richard, that so there's SAN 183 and SAN 184. I think I'm clear that SAN 183 is going to be individually listed, so taken out of the group listing. And is it that both of them are? So SAN 184 is also, or is it?
Oh, no, it's not. There's no SAN 184. It's just the SAN 183 that's in question. And yeah, we've talked about moving it out of the group listing and have it programmed as a standalone project. And then, yeah, it would just basically be programmed, I believe, strictly for construction on
Okay.
as a standalone project.
Like, I think like Rusty was mentioning, yeah, the issue I think, you know, that would look at is, you know, when a project is grouped, you know, would have to be exempt and then non-regionally significant.
Right.
So, you know, so long as a project, yeah, there is regional significance, I think, yeah, that would be what would be the concern is if you know, that project or any project for that matter is continued to be listed as a group listing, that those things are determined and followed. So like if so long as the project is if it is regionally significant, then yeah, I would recommend that it be ungrouped. But I think I'm going through all this, you know, you all said that the project is out of the is planned to be taken out of the group listing. So I didn't think I have any concern with that. It's just if, you know, that project or I thought there were two projects, but if any of them were to continue to be grouped or listed in the group listing, those would be the things to check off, you know, whether, you know, to ensure that that it was exempt and non-regionally is significant to be grouped.
Okay.
I think, Michael, there was discussion in May of a second project, but it is wrapped up. Maybe that's where some of isn't that correct, Richard?
Oh, yeah, there was mention of that. Let me, if you can pull up the slide, maybe the one that has the grouped listing.
Can you
with the
go
SAN
back,
183
Lauren?
project highlighted. I do recall that now, Kirsten. I think it was.
Thought it was
the
maybe SAN 182.
Was that it?
I believe so, but that one is completed.
It's substantially completed. Yeah, I think you and Sam and I talked that one through. And
but Michael, that might be where the sense that there were two projects came from some of the discussion.
Yeah, that could be.
In the emails after the meeting.
Okay, got it. So out of the two, one is completed, the other one is going to be individualistic going forward.
Right.
Yes.
Okay,
Beginning with the 2027 RTIP.
Mm-hmm.
So then, yeah, I didn't have any concern.
Okay.
So I guess another question here. So I'm looking at SAN 30 and 30A. So, you know, is that the plan for these projects too, to bump them out of the group listing?
We could. We're happy to do that if it's more appropriate to have them individually listed.
I mean, and I think the goal here is to be able to kind of detail out for the public, the funding sources and all that, and any changes that are going to happen down the line. You know, group listing, it does kind of hide the ball a little bit. So I think if you are talking about projects of this scale, you know, a lot of these others, you know, it seems like they're mostly studies. So, but you are talking about 30 and 30A as sizable construction projects. So I guess that would be my preference, to see those bumped out of the project listing and individually listed instead. I don't know if John or Michael have any thoughts on that.
And I'm pretty sure it makes sense what you're saying.
I think so too. I know that, when it comes to the group project listings, I, can admit that other than have to look through all of them, but I mean, looking at that right here, yeah, it looks like potentially that SAM 30, could be, if in conversation or with the IAC, could be determined to be region significant. I think, it just comes down to, at least for me, when projects are group listed, that those two things would have to be observed, to be, included. And if one or the other, it being region significant or a non-exempt project, they definitely should be individually listed. So if SAN 30, would fall into one of those categories, would advocate for what Rusty's just mentioned, to be individual listed.
I see we have some comments. Rodney, do you want to, and then Michelle?
I think Michelle was first, so I'll go ahead and let her go.
Okay, sorry, Michelle.
No worries. Thanks, Rodney. So I just wanted to give you guys a heads up that we are going to be looking at each group listing that we currently have as part of the next update, and definitely going through and pulling out some of these larger projects. So that is something that is on our radar to do, and we didn't want to mess with whatever we're doing, whatever issues we're having with conformity right now. We didn't want to mess with that at this point. So that's why we're going to wait for the update.
I think that sounds good. Thanks, Michelle.
No problem.
And then for me, I think for me, it's not really a concern. It's just that 40 CFR 93121 has been addressed, meaning that Caltrans is being recipient of federal funds. We will not touch a project that isn't conforming RTP and TIP. Even though there is some challenges with it being group listed, we understand, but because it's already been modeled is why you don't see me as stressed. Now, say if it wasn't modeled, that'd be a different story. I would speak with them, but I would say, until it's, an conforming plan or TIP, we're not going to touch it. But I think because they've already modeled it, they just possibly have to do an administrative amendment to fix this, is why you see me not as concerned anymore.
Thank you, Rodney. Bike?
Yes, thank you, Kirsten. So good morning, everyone. This is Libreng, Office of Federal Programming and Data Management from Caltrans. I just want to appreciate SANDAG is bringing this back to our request. Also, for the benefit of all the federal partners, as all of you know, the federal planning findings, we are working with all the NPOs to address. We are continuously providing instruction during our CFPG meeting. One is coming next week. So one of the hot topic is we are updating our group listing guidance so that when we develop the next F-step cycle, we will be asking NPOs to go through all the group listing to make sure that there's no overlook happen. And I do see already Michelle mentioned that SANDAG is going through the process, so we really appreciate that. So I want to mention that Caltrans office also taking action to make sure the group listings is not overlooked. We are going to work with all the NPOs to address this as a part of the federal planning finding. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Rodney, do you have another comment?
Sorry about that, but I will reiterate what Vic's saying. Even though programming is doing that, there's also a final check for my branch will actually look at it as well, the group listing, as SANDAG noticed.
Well, and I want to add that it is, subject to programming's input, we would have the option after the internal review of bringing any open questions or serious changes in how we have reflected the project listings to this group, to be sure that everyone is comfortable you know, and it's consistent with the revised guidelines and, you know, any reviews that just in the interest of greater efficiency and communication. That would certainly be an option, I would think, for the 27 RTIP, subject to our internal schedule. Vike, do you have another comment?
My mistake. Let me raise
Okay.
lower the hand. Sorry,
Okay.
sorry about it.
No, not at all. Any other comments or questions on this issue? Okay. Well, that concludes our agenda items. Our next meeting is scheduled for August 6th. And at present, we're still planning on holding it. We'll see. I know that August is a month that sometimes people are not able to attend, but we'll see if there are any new updates, or as ever, if anyone has any issues they would like us to bring to this group, please let me know. And Rodney, I will make the corrections, and you'll see that in the minutes for this meeting and the materials. And absent anything else, we can adjourn. So thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thank you.
You.
Thanks,
You too.
everyone.